Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow over the supermarket's freezer aisle. I was halfway through my late-night grocery run jeans, a faded green hoodie, my blonde hair tied back in a messy bun, reaching for a pint of mint chocolate chip when I felt it. A shift in the air, like someone was too close. I turned my head just as 3 figures boxed me in against the glass doors. Hey, before we dive in, quick shout. If you're new here and vibing with these stories, hit that subscribe button. Takes 2 seconds, keeps you in the loop, and means the world to me. Already subscribed? You're my hero. Let's get into it. Store manager, mid-40s, broad, with a name tag reading Dan pinned to his polo, stood to my left, his breath fogging in the cold. His teenage assistant, a lanky kid maybe 18, hovered to my right, hoodie zipped up, hands fidgeting. In front of me was a woman, easily twice my age, 50-something, sharp cheekbones, dark hair streaked with silver, wearing a tight sweater that clung to her curves. Their hands brushed me, Dan's on my arm, the kid's grazing my hip, the woman's fingers tracing my shoulder. Cold from the frost, deliberate. It's quieter back here, Dan whispered, voice low, eyes locked on mine. I froze, ice cream pint still in hand, my pulse kicking up. Shoppers shuffled past, heels clicking, carts rattling, but no one looked our way. The aisle stretched empty behind them, a wall of frosted glass and humming coolers at my back. I should have laughed it off, shoved past. Instead, I smirked. Quiet for what? I asked, voice steadier than I felt. Woman, her name tag said Marla, smiled, slow and knowing. You'll see. And stepped closer, his chest brushing my arm, the kid Tyler. I guessed from his tag, mirroring him on the other side. Marla stayed in front, her hand sliding down to my waist, tugging me forward just enough to feel her warmth against the chill. My breath hitched, the pint slipping back into the freezer as my hands landed on Dan's polo, then Tyler's hoodie, instinctive, steadying. You're not shopping alone tonight, Marla murmured, lips close to my ear. I glanced past them, cameras blinking red in the corners, an old guy pushing a cart 2 aisles over. No one cared. This your usual closing shift, I said, half laughing, testing. Dan grinned, rough and easy. Only when someone interesting shows up. Tyler's hands settled on my hips, tentative but firm, his breath fast like he couldn't believe this was happening. Marla's fingers slipped under my hoodie, grazing my stomach, cold then warm, sending a shiver up my spine. I leaned into it, caught between them, the hum of the freezers drowning out the store's music. Follow us, Dan said, nodding toward the back. I didn't think, I nodded, and they moved, Dan leading, Marla beside me, Tyler trailing close. We wove past the ice cream, the frozen pizzas, to a narrow door marked employees only. Dan pushed it open, and we slipped inside a cramped stockroom, dimly lit, stacked with boxes, and a single metal table in the center. The door clicked shut, muffling the store's noise. Marla turned me slow, her hands on my shoulders, guiding me against the table. Ever wonder what happens after hours? She asked, voice smooth, teasing. Not like this, I said, breathless, as Dan stepped up behind me, his hands sliding to my waist, lifting my hoodie just enough to bare my midriff. Tyler hovered, eyes wide, then moved in, hands brushing my thighs, nervous but eager. Marla kissed me soft, then firm, tasting like peppermint gum and promise. My hands found her sweater, tugging it up, feeling her skin beneath, warm against the stockroom's chill. Dan's lips hit my neck, rough stubble grazing me, his grip tightening as he pressed closer. Tyler's fingers fumbled with my jeans, hesitant, then bold, sliding them down just enough. I broke the kiss, gasping, "This is insane." "Best kind," Dan murmured, voice low against my ear. Marla smirked, stepping back to peel off her sweater, revealing a black bra that barely held her in. She climbed onto the table, pulling me up with her, my knees hitting the cold metal. Dan followed, shirt half unbuttoned, hands steady on my hips as he knelt behind me. Tyler stayed on the floor, looking up, hands still on my thighs, caught in the chaos. "Relax," Marla whispered, kissing my jaw, then my throat, her hands sliding under my bra, coaxing it off. I arched into her, head tipping back, and Dan took the cue, his hands slipping lower, guiding my jeans further down, his breath hot against my spine. Tyler's fingers traced higher, shaky but sure, joining the rhythm. The stockroom door rattled. We froze, Marla's lips on my collarbone, Dan's hands on me, Tyler's breath catching. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate. A voice gruff, unfamiliar. "Dan, you back here." Dan cursed under his breath, pulling back. "Stay quiet," he muttered, sliding off the table, smoothing his shirt. Marla smirked, tugging me down beside her, my jeans still tangled at my knees. Tyler ducked behind a stack of boxes, eyes wide. The door swung open. A guy big, maybe 60, gray hair, apron stained with grease, stepped in, scanning the room. His eyes landed on me, flushed, half-dressed, Marla beside me, casual as ever, Dan adjusting his collar like nothing was up. "Closing early?" he asked, voice dry, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Something like that," Dan said, calm, stepping forward. The guy, his tag read, Frank, didn't leave. He leaned against the doorframe, crossing his arms. "Looks like a party." Marla laughed, low and sharp. "Room for one more." My pulse jumped. Frank's smirk widened, and he stepped in, kicking the door shut behind him. "Been a while," he said, eyes on me, then Marla, then Dan. "Sophie," Dan said, nodding at me. "Frank's our night shift." I sat up, jeans still low, hoodie bunched around my shoulders. "Hi, Frank," I managed, voice shaky, but amused. He nodded, slow, unbuttoning his apron, letting it drop. "Hi, Sophie." Marla pulled me back, kissing me again, harder this time, her hands roaming. Dan stepped closer, hands returning to my hips, guiding me onto my knees. Frank moved in, deliberate, his rough fingers brushing my arm, then my jaw, joining the tangle. Tyler peeked out, hesitant, then climbed up, hands finding me again, bolder now. It was too much, Marla's lips, Dan's grip, Frank's steady touch, Tyler's eager hands. I let go, caught in the rhythm, metal table creaking, boxes shifting, the hum of the freezers seeping through the walls. My hoodie hit the floor, then my jeans, and Marla's sweater landed beside them. Frank's shirt followed, then Dan's. Tyler's hoodie last, a pile of fabric in the chaos. "Switch," Frank rumbled, voice low. Dan nodded, and they moved, Frank taking his place behind me. Hands rougher, slower, Marla shifting to straddle my lap, her weight grounding me. Dan knelt beside me, kissing my neck, guiding my hand to him. Tyler stayed close, lips on my shoulder, hands tracing my thighs, sinking with the others. The air thickened, heavy with breath and heat, the stockroom a blur of motion. I couldn't track it, Marla's curves against me, Frank's steady rhythm, Dan's low groans, Tyler's shaky gasps. My nails dug into the table, then Marla's back, then Frank's arm, anchoring me as the tension built, sharp and relentless. Another knock, sharp, insistent. We stilled mid-breath, mid-move. A woman's voice muffled. "Dan, delivery, here." Frank chuckled, pulling back, wiping sweat from his brow. Never a dull night. Marla slid off me, smirking, smoothing her hair. "Guess we've got company." Dan stood, grabbing his shirt. "Stay put," he said, glancing at me, then Frank. "I'll handle it." He slipped out, door clicking shut. I sat there, flushed, breathless, jeans around my ankles, Marla beside me, Frank and Tyler close. The silence stretched, then broke footsteps again, multiple this time. The door opened, and Dan stepped back in, two new figures behind him. Woman, 30-ish, short red hair, delivery uniform tight across her chest, grinned, holding a clipboard. Beside her, a guy young, maybe 20, lanky, cap pulled low, shifted a crate, eyes widening as he took us in. "Caught you at a bad time?" the woman asked, smirking. "Nah," Marla said, leaning back, casual. "Perfect timing." Redhead, her tag read Jess, dropped the clipboard, stepping closer. "Looks fun." The kid Luke, from his tag, set the crate down, hesitating, then staying put, eyes flicking between us. Frank nodded at them, slow. "Join in." My heart thudded, the room shrinking, bodies crowding. Jess laughed, kicking off her boots, climbing onto the table beside me. Luke hovered, then followed, hands shaky as he reached for me. Marla kissed me again. Frank's hands returned. Dan stepped in. Tyler shifted closer, and Jess's fingers brushed my thigh, bold and sure. Didn't stop. The stockroom turned into a tangle, 6 of us now, hands, mouths, heat everywhere, the table groaning under the weight. I lost myself in it, Jess's lips, Marla's touch, Frank's grip, Dan's rhythm, Luke's gasps, Tyler's hands, all blending, building, endless. The night wasn't over, not even close. So what about you? Would you have stayed? What would you have done in that stockroom? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading everyone. Before you bounce, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for being here. See you soon.